Welcome back to That's Logistics, baby.
This is one of the crazy trucker stories again.
Our favorite.
Exactly. There are over 7,000 comments in this thread.
Ooh,
so
it's going to be good.
Yeah. My dad was working for Pillsbury Foods, which had recently bought another company that was starting to do business in fresh vegetables rather than canned. The fresh vegetables were sometimes shipped from Mexico in reefer trucks. Unfortunately, Pillsbury kept getting shipments of broccoli or green beans that were spoiled. They suspected that the Mexican truckers were turning off the reefer units in their trucks in order to save gasoline. The company decided to send people down to Mexico to ride with the truckers to make sure that they didn't turn off their reefers. My dad was one of those people. So cut to the road in a Mexican desert, and my dad is riding along with the Mexican trucker who speaks approximately 0 words of English. First barrier. It is apparently getting dark out, and the driver tries to turn his headlights on, but they don't go on. My dad tries to ask the driver if they're going to stop and try to fix the lights or something, but the guy just says something in Spanish and keeps driving.
Can you imagine? Scared.
Not too much later, and it started getting really dark, and the driver is only going about 30 miles an hour. In the dark with absolutely no lights. My dad is getting pretty scared. Finally, a small car drives behind them and passes. The driver says, "Aha," and starts to speed up and tailgates this little sedan. He is trying to use the lights off of the little car ahead of them so he can go faster. Now imagine being this poor guy who passes a giant dark truck on the road and the truck starts following right behind you. When you slow down to 30, it slows down to 30. When you speed up to 90, it stays right on your trail. Terrifying. So in the cab, my dad is getting really nervous. Finally, the little car they are following around just swerves off to the road and drives into the desert. The guy probably thought this ghost truck was going to be his death.
Yeah, seriously.
The trucker just swears in Spanish and slows way down. After a few more minutes, he just looks at my dad and goes, "Aha." He comes to a stop, digs around the back for a minute, and pops back out with a huge Bowie knife. He holds it up in front of my dad and says, "Aha," again. Now, my dad thinks he is going to die in the dark road at the hands of a crazy Mexican driver. The trucker just uses the knife, though, to pry open something in the dash where the switch for the lights are. Then he goes outside and fiddles around. After a few minutes, he comes back in, messes with some wires, and the lights go on. Then he just starts driving, and my dad just sits terrified for several more hours until finally they arrive.
How funny.
I wonder. Well, the company obviously didn't really think through the language barrier.
Language barrier, liability, like...
So many things wrong.
So many things. What?
And also...
I'm assuming this is like a vendor of theirs, right? Like this carrier?
So, no, it was...
that leg for them?
It sounds like Pillsbury obtained or like acquired a company and they started doing different either loads or like types of loads.
Okay. So they acquired this.
Yeah, they recently bought
carrier.
another company that started to do business in fresh vegetables. So he was working for Pillsbury Food. Pillsbury bought another company. So it was just different commodity because of that purchase.
Yeah.
I think.
But my question is like normally if you're doing that, you still have a vendor, which is a carrier. So, like, what was that discussion point with that vendor that's a carrier? It's like, you know, it just doesn't kind of make sense.
Unless Pillsbury is like a not nationwide, worldwide company, right?
Yeah, and so that's fine.
They would, maybe it's their own drivers, like their own fleet.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Was it their...
or a carrier?
Right. Or like a vendor of theirs, a carrier.
I can't imagine it was a carrier. That would be crazy.
Because why would they have such old, faulty equipment? And also, like, regulations, I'm sure, policies for the drivers.
Exactly.
So that's what leads me to believe this is just a vendor. Oh. And they were checking to see, like, what happens with this vendor's leg, maybe, and bringing it to the border, right?
Yeah.
What were the comments? I want to hear. I'm intrigued.
There was no, like, interesting comments. I was just checking to see if anyone asked what you asked, and no one asked that. But,
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So many things would be going through my mind.
As the guy driving with, like,
Yeah. And
in the passenger seat?
right. Because you're like, okay, so I could either die by a car accident because we can't see anything. Yeah. Or I could die. I don't know why he wouldn't just be like, hey, we need to stop. Like, stop the truck.
Yeah.
So he was nervous. Maybe the driver was giving him sketchy vibes, or maybe it was just simply the language barrier.
Yeah.
Which, again, shame on the company. Like, how awkward. And who in their right mind is signing up to do that?
Probably had no choice in the matter.
Everyone has a choice.
That's true. That's true.
I would have asked a lot of questions before saying yes. That's wild.
Oh my God.
I'm glad he survived, and I'm glad it was just a story, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I just pictured the knife, like,
yeah, a Bowie knife.
You're like, no, what?
But also the little sedan that they were following.
I know,
like,
bless them. And are they okay?
Yeah,
like,
just swerves off
into like the desert. Like, what?
The Mexican desert, yeah.
Scary.
Terrifying. All aspects of that story.
Yeah.
Glad they survived.
That's what I'm saying.
At least I hope the sedan survived after swerving. Okay, this next one is a new customer fail. A guy called me out of the blue last week to move a chassis for him. Chassis. Okay, a guy called me out of the blue last week to move a chassis for him. I checked out his phone number and company, and they were legit. They had a bad credit score and easily paid in advance, so it looked all good. However, he told me this was a single chassis move, power only. I specifically asked a bunch of questions to make sure I had all the right info, but he failed to tell me this was a chassis truck. He called me this morning after last night's debacle, asking what a sleeper truck was going to do with his chassis truck. I explained to him that he said this was only a chassis, period. I played back the recorded calls and confirmed I didn't somehow misunderstand him. So I told him I could look for an RGN to bring his truck to Georgia. He said, "Why would you send something so big? Why would they put a lowboy on my truck?" When I politely corrected him, obviously his truck would go onto the lowboy. He didn't seem to like that and said he'd been doing transportation for years. Okay, so have I. Next time some rando calls me, lesson learned. Pictures before I agreed to do it. After I presented him with the RGN current market price, he just asked for a refund. So I told the main office to give it to him, and I'm eating the carrier's tonneau he refuses to pay. First load, and he was already a pain in the ass, so I'm not sad to see him go. Very likely a one-off, which I usually get with the random calls like that.
It's true.
It's true.
You have to make sure, document. Over communicate and clarify. Okay, just so we're on the same page, XYZ. Right. And the phone calls they get to every time.
That's true. Everything in writing.
You got to do an email receipt.
Mm-hmm. Show me the receipts. Like the Have you seen Real Housewives of Salt Lake City?
I haven't.
Oh, you wouldn't get it. The receipts. I'll show you.
I'll take your word for it.
Thank you. Okay, there's a comment on this. It says, "Yeah, I'm absolutely deducting that tonneau from his refund. I'm not a restaurant. There are no free meals here. Mm-hmm. You create a tonneau through poor communication, and you're some dork with bad credit who had to pay in advance. You're worth less than nothing to me at this point, and I can legally keep the money, which I need to pay the truck what I owe them for their services rendered on your behalf. Politely #, the end." This is the thing people do, by the way. Many years ago, I thought I had a hot tub customer. These guys asked me for van LTL pricing, and then when the truck showed up, played dumb and demanded flatbed instead. They then demanded that I match the price and I had offered on van LTL. They got a refund less than the tonneau. No, they got a refund minus the tonneau and the wire fee to send it back. They can die pissed as far as I'm concerned. Time wasting idiots.
Ugh, I know. And then it's like not just the receipts in hand, but then also just the shady people out there like doing business like that. Because some of these are unfortunately very intentional.
Yeah.
They don't even know their commodity and they're just taking a wild guess of like, oh yeah, this should fit. And it shows up, well, it's not going to fit. So it's now their fault. Like
this is on you.
Yeah. Oh, hate that. Crazy. Hate that. There's a fine line between the customer is always right. Because sometimes the customer is not always right.
That's true. That's true. Facts. Okay, this post is about AI regarding RFPs. And this guy is posing a question.
Okay.
So he says, has anybody began using AI to help them with large data sets for RFPs? I'm currently in round 2 of a massive one and would love to utilize some form of AI to help me with insights I might not be able to see myself. Can anyone possibly recommend a data set driven AI company that I could use for this? There were 2 comments. The first one says, this is a great question. Can it help me price the lanes better than I can? No. But can it take the 74,000 total data points with all of my rates, all the feedback rates, and accepting into final round 2 and be able to give me trends, insights, and patterns that I couldn't begin to see on my own? Absolutely. And if I can spot some trends that stand out to me, I can then focus there, lower those rates, and submit an actual package with a focus niche instead of just an Excel file. I'm sure I'm up against a lot of straight asset companies, and the other brokerages are probably huge. Low rates alone won't have me stand out the way that I'll need to here. I most certainly think AI can do a better job than me there. I ain't that smart. AI is crazy. But it's true, when you have multiple RFPs in hand, like how many on average are the lanes that you're sifting through for pricing?
I mean, it's hard to say on average because every customer is so different, but at least you're breaking 5,000 lanes. I would say normally you're lucky if you get anything under like 1,000 lanes. That's just a much smaller operation. But yeah, I mean, you just have to, one, have a network. Even as like a big brokerage, like for example, like the big C.H. Robinsons and even the TQLs, Coyotes, like they all started somewhere. They all had a strong foundation of a network. And based on like that service and really like walking the talk with their abilities to hit certain metrics, then they can branch out and start to grow that network. Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, going into like a multi-thousand lane RFP with not a real clear picture or approach of what you're focusing on, you're not going to stand out because you don't have a network per se that you can go and sell to a customer. Anyone can go in there and bid all 18,000 of the lanes. That's not appealing to a customer. Yeah. So like that just comes down to like what lanes are your core lanes. Right. And by core, it's like you're doing it like clockwork, right? Like, you know, you have maybe drivers or you have carriers and you have those numbers very present and relative in your at the forefront of everything you're doing because you're leaning on those partnerships to help you execute that OTP, OTD, those unique moves and whatnot. And so, yeah, it's crazy. And I wish AI could help because it's hard because like so many customers give lengthy RFP timelines, which is very helpful. But at the same time, sometimes they're too long, like 2-3 months. And it's like, well, by month 3, if I don't know that you're committing something to me, I don't know how long I'm going to hold that pricing. Right? Yeah. That's essentially a whole quarter before we're making a decision and going live. A lot of things can change in 3 months. And so like, but at the same time, those that give you a week, they don't know that maybe we are also participating in another 5 RFPs that are just as big. And so to do that as like one person without technology, like a business owner is putting a lot of faith on that, you know, pricing analyst or whoever it is that's doing it. Like, again, you hope that you have very clear understanding of what your target is lane-wise. Yeah. Otherwise, it will just consume your whole life. You're like, well, there goes 40 hours for the week and it's only Tuesday.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Yeah. Sounds like a balance juggling act.
Yeah. Like you have to know the rates and the lanes. And I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a platform that can provide me what the human has been able to, which is just like the live, real data of how a lane is behaving in the marketplace. But then on the flip side, the historicals do matter. They paint a story. The question mark is, for that year, what's the variance going to be? Is it going to be minimal, like less than 5% up or down? Or is it going to be a huge swing? And I don't think, if a human doesn't know that, I don't know how AI would know that.
Well, that leads me to the second comment. It says, most people I know who use AI for this stuff end up piecing a few tools together like ChatGPT, combined with Excel, Google Sheets, or even Power BI for larger data sets. Yep. The key is knowing exactly what insights you're looking for, then prompting or guiding the AI the right way. It won't do everything automatically, but it can absolutely help you find patterns, speed up your analysis, and better your decisions. I am actually a dispatcher working on the carrier side, and I've been using AI for the past 8 months, and it made my life 99% easier. Even though I'm not on the brokerage side, I can tell you firsthand that if you learn how to use it properly, it's a game changer.
For sure. Yep. There's definitely a lot of platforms that I'm familiarized with and put into practice, but I wouldn't put all my eggs into one basket as far as that's concerned. It's just a good, like, supporting data sets, I would say, from each. So, yeah. Crazy.
So back to our favorite trucking story thread. The next one is, a bad ice storm came through the Midwest in early 2009. I was driving the worst of it. Hadn't been able to go faster than 45 miles per hour the entire day. I finally got to a 3-lane interstate that had been plowed and cleared, and traffic was going full highway speed. I was about 4 truck lengths behind the truck in front of me when he started braking hard. I hit my brakes and nothing. No slowing down at all. I was on black ice, and all I could see was the truck in front of me getting closer. I moved side to side in my lane to try and find any traction. It wasn't until I crossed the lane lines that I was finally able to start slowing down. In the progress of doing this, I managed to sideswipe a Penske moving truck. I pulled over as soon as I could, and they pulled up behind me. Thankfully, none of them were hurt, and neither of the trucks had any damage beyond a couple scrapes. Can you just imagine that?
No. Just cringing, thinking, and feeling the sense of, like, you know what's happening, you're seeing what's happening, and there's literally nothing you can do.
Try to push on your brakes and nothing.
So scary. But also, like, use your engine brake, especially during icy conditions, because you technically shouldn't be slamming on your brakes, because then
that's a whole other issue.
That's a recipe for a disaster there. But dang it, what are the comments saying?
This guy had like 7 stories to share. So in his one comment, it was like 7 different stories. So no specific comment back on him.
Gotcha.
But this next one is, my first solo load. This is from the same guy, by the way.
Okay.
My first solo load was a load of beer going from Ohio into West Virginia. I didn't have a GPS yet, and the company I worked for was at giving directions, but that wasn't the worst part. The load was easily overweight by thousands of pounds. When I told the company, they told me that there was no weigh stations between where I was and the delivery, and that I should take the load anyways. With this being my first load, I didn't have the balls to stand up to the company, so I ran with it. The only way to get to my destination was through the squiggly little state highway. It was full of tight corners, switchbacks, and lots of hills.
Oh my gosh.
There was one time when I looked in my mirror to see the outer tire in my trailer tandems actually hanging off the side of the road, literally about 8 inches from having the truck and trailer tumble into a ravine.
Oh my God.
By the time I got to where I was going, my hands were cramped from gripping the steering wheel, and my left leg was cramped from having to shift constantly. So
scary. Shame on that company, but also shame on him. He should know better.
Yeah, he should have stood up for his safety.
I mean,
and
first
from
his safety.
Yeah.
Second, like, that impacts him too.
Right.
I mean, that could have easily put him out of commission from, like, being able to hold a CDL and stuff, especially if it's like that much over.
Right.
Scary.
Wow.
Glad he's okay.
Wild.
Seems like he's had a very colorful experience.
It did. There were plenty. He had plenty of stories to share on that one. Okay, this other one is, let's see. Again, same thread, trucker stories. It was around midnight when I was traveling north on Route 491 through New Mexico. You should know that until 2003, this road was actually Route 666. Believe they changed it because people thought it was cursed and the signs kept getting stolen. I'll also say that this highway goes through the Ute Indian Reservation.
Oh.
I only mention this because midnight, Route 666, and Indian Reservation sort of sets the tone.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm headed to this road and it's a clear night, stars everywhere, no towns or other vehicles for miles. Suddenly, in the western part of the sky, I see this incredibly bright ball of orange light, which very rapidly grows to a size vastly larger than the sun. The texture of it even sort of looked like those close-up pictures of the sun. Suddenly, this giant sun disappears and the entire sky, horizon to horizon, flashes bright yellow, and you can see everything in the desert for miles as if it was daytime. Then, all the weirdness ended and it was the regular night sky again. The entire event happened in a matter of a couple of seconds. Needless to say, the whole thing left me a bit shaken. I asked a few other people at the truck stop the next morning if they had seen anything, but just got crazy looks. Later on, though, I was listening to the radio and heard about a meteorite that had burned up in the atmosphere the previous night and had been seen by people from as far south as I was all the way up to Idaho. Now, what I saw was much weirder than... Now, what I had seen... What? Sorry. Now, what I saw was much weirder than a meteorite. So all I can figure is I saw some sort of reflection of the rock burning up that had bounced off of some layer of the atmosphere and caused this strange display. Not sure, but it makes the most sense to me. Or, aliens.
I was going to say that's where my mind went.
Immediately.
Aliens. It's easy to cover that up. Oh, it was a meteor.
It was too easy. Too easy of a cover up.
But honestly, those that kind of a story and hearing so many of them, it's 100% there has to be. I mean, I am a firm believer in that there are other beings out in our universe that we just aren't.
Do you think they've landed?
Yeah.
In Earth?
I do.
I do.
I just feel like there's been so many, maybe not exactly facts, but the fact that we're consistently inconsistent with what it could be and whatnot. It's you can only hide that for so long.
Exactly. And let people believe,
Right. But why? I always ask myself this. It's why do we want to hide that from people? Is it because they're scared of how it will be received?
That's a good question.
Maybe why hide it?
I don't know.
The government goes through so much to keep things under wraps as far as aliens. And I wouldn't say just our government. I think in general,
they've all communally decided we cannot let them know aliens exist.
So it's interesting. It's why is that?
We'll never know. We
won't ever know.
Okay. This next story is a story from the other side, is how he starts it.
Same guy?
No, different guy. It was the alien.
I was going to say, this guy should write a book. And I don't know if I'm going to believe all his stories.
Oh my God. Okay. Before all the high-end regulations about logbooks and drug tests, truckers used to use drugs to keep them up for long hours to maximize their miles during a given day. Some days, truckers would be up for 72 hours on end. During one Tuesday, we received a disturbing call from one of our brokered trucks. The driver started yelling on the phone in a panic, stating that he had believed he hit a person and that he or she was trapped in the wheel well of his rear axle.
Oh.
He was relatively close to our dispatch office, so he informed us that he was coming to our location so we could help him. When we saw the truck enter our parking lot, no one knew what to expect. My boss and I sprinted outside after calling 911, fearing for the worst. The driver stopped his trailer, put on the brakes, and sprinted out of his car. My boss and I had no idea what to expect as we approached the rear axle. As we got close and closer, we saw that there was no body stuck. There was no body stuck as reported. Turns out some of the trucker's buddies knew that he was hopped up on some powerful drugs and had been sleep deprived for days.
Oh, no.
They decided to play a prank on him and radio to him that he had a dead body stuck in his truck.
No!
Police came and the man obviously went to the hospital for further evaluation. It's safe to say that drivers nowadays should be thankful for highway patrol. These regulations and laws prevent things like this from happening to a degree nowadays.
Wow. That is so mean.
And also, like, his buddies just ratted him out.
I know. Dang it. Dang it. It was probably for the best. For many people.
If you believe in aliens and have your crazy alien theories, let us know in the comments.
Please.